here?
Justin said he most likely would not.
Okay. And we haven't heard from Jason. We know Brad's not gonna be here. You wanna avoid the board of that.
Oh,
My husband had to have emergency pacemaker surgery in December.
No.
His heart rate got down to 25.
I'm expecting her to pacemaker, but then we can just start this.
If you would like to get down and answer questions.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
228 years straight down there.
Okay.
Islander.
Well, let's call to order right now. We probably have a few minutes, but I believe we have enough for a quorum, even though Jason is not here and Justin and Brad. Welcome, everyone. Start with the approval of minutes for May 7th. The last meeting was May 7th. Please take a look at it. Recommend that we pass or change whatever might need to be changed.
I reviewed the minutes, and I would make a motion to approve the minutes from May 7th, 2025.
Thank you, Cindy.
I'll second that. Great job as usual, Joel.
Yes.
Yeah, Joel does a great job.
I worked so hard.
Yeah, do that.
I think he's using AI.
He will never lose his job.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passed. Unfinished business, we didn't have any on the agenda. Move to new business. Smith Street warning lights at Lakeview Middle School at Wood Street.
So currently, there are two crosswalks on Smith Street at Lakeview. There's one at Wood Street, and these pictures are on your back of your long paper. There's one at Wood Street, there's also one at Scott Street. The crosswalk at Wood Street goes from a sidewalk by the school to a road with no sidewalk. The visibility is extremely poor, and the kids that are crossing there don't walk there. They come via car. Corporal Roberts, if you want to step up to the mic and explain what you have seen. Corporal Roberts is the SRO at Lakeview, and he is there every day. What have you noticed at that crosswalk?
So yeah, the idea would be to remove the Wood Street crossing just due to the fact that it's not very safe. The visibility there is very poor. We have the most issues with cars not stopping for the designated walk area at that area. And as Captain Beam said, once the students cross Smith Street and are on Wood Street, there's no sidewalks, it's a through road. So the proposal would be to remove the Wood Street the Wood Street crossing and have all student traffic be forced to cross over at Scott Street, where there's better visibility, sidewalks, and due to the layout of the sidewalks for the school, students crossing at Wood Street, their quickest point to get into the building is to cross through the parent pickup line. So that forces us to then go out, stop parent pickup, bring kids across, whereas the kids who cross over at Scott Street have a clear sidewalk path to go all the way into the building. There's also more sidewalks on Scott Street and ways for them to walk up to Winona to cross if they do have to go west to walk.
So just for my bearings, Wood Street is where the same road that Gamby's is on, correct?
Yes. So yeah, looking at the map here, if you see basically the exact middle of the middle school there, that's Wood Street right there. It also presents a problem because we'll have parents who come out right there and what is that, 913, that'll turn to go west, but due to traffic buildup, due to the parent drop-off, They'll turn to go north up Wood Street to then proceed west on Winona Street. And we'll have kids walking right down the middle of that road because there's no sidewalk for them to go on.
Which they shouldn't in the first place.
Right, and I know the principal, Mr. Braddock, has issued numerous letters and emails to parents who've been identified as dropping their kids off there, but it just hasn't stopped. They
Is it-
still use it. They basically treat it like an alleyway or a secondary drop-off location to get around the parent pickup or the parent drop-off line.
And we had a student get hit last year there too. On a bike coming across.
I don't believe was it at Wood Street? I thought that was farther
Was
up
that
on
on, was that on
Market.
Scott? Was that on the car, the
believe it
little
was
car
on-
dealership?
Yes.
Yeah, that was further
the
up on
appliance
Market
store.
Street.
Or, not the appliance store, I'm sorry. Right. So are they? I don't. I mean, I'm familiar with that real well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they shouldn't, I mean, it's against school policy to have, I can't have students cross a road without a sidewalk there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that automatically turns that area, which there's not any houses in that little area. There's just on the other side of the street. But do we know where they're walking to? I know that's sort of.
They go up to Winona, typically.
Because they can't cross, it's illegal for us to have kids cross railroad tracks too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I usually catch the kids doing that. Because anything, and especially with Lakeview, anything on the other side of the railroad tracks, we have to do, that's an option, either a parent pickup or we deliver them.
Yep.
Then why do we have a sidewalk
Exactly,
or a crosswalk at Wood Street with no sidewalks anyway?
right. That's what, I don't think anybody's ever noticed it. And it hasn't been updated either. You know what I mean?
It's
As
been there a
far
long
as-
time.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like I can usually tell when the city comes through and starts updating, we do it once a year, especially with the schools.
Correct.
Yeah, and now I do drop there, but those kids get off at Lakeview and they just go right into the school, or they're walkers and they walk down the sidewalks of Lakeview itself. So this year we need to identify who those kids are. If we start seeing it. It's no different than like on 15 at the high school. Once we start identifying the kids that are crossing 15, then they start getting warnings from the school, from the principals to the parents that, hey, your kids cannot cross US 15.
Dustin, can you speak to the fact of, it's kind of rare to have a crosswalk go from a sidewalk to not a sidewalk.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that doesn't look like it's up to any of our standards anyway. So yeah, we don't typically encourage mid-block crossings that are not at a controlled intersection. So yeah, I would definitely be in favor of removing that and forcing them to go down to Scott Street to cross. I know Eric was, our sign tech was looking into as well, for the flashing lights and stuff, to actually attach floodlights to that too, that would trigger when you hit that light to illuminate it a little bit better. So actively, we didn't have the quote, didn't come back yet, but as soon as we get that, we'll bring that in as well and maybe do some cost sharing with the school to update that. But for now, if it's okay with the school, I think we would be in favor of removing that mid-block crossing right here.
I'll shoot it by Dr. Hoffert and Tracy. But yeah, I guess nobody noticed it before.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Tracy, so he's aware that I'm here talking about it today. He said he's also in favor of removing it, so.
Is there an alternative place that they can drop off? Or do they have to go all the way through that line, which also snakes back Canal Street?
Drop off.
Could they drop them off in the parking lot? They're on Scott Street.
That could be the possibility, yeah.
We through there, drop them off, and then they're right there at their crosswalk.
Are you talking parent pickup or bus?
parents.
I guess parents.
That's who's dropping them
Parents that are
off.
headed west.
Yeah, so the parent, right, and I guess what I'm getting from you is the parents aren't doing the right procedure for the parent
Correct.
drop-off and pickup.
And since the crossing's there, they will go up on Winona, they'll go into that
Yes.
alley, they'll pull down Wood Street, they'll let the kids out, the kids will go straight to that crosswalk and cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody wants to get in the line all the way back on Canal Street, all the way behind the
Exactly.
Lakeview Middle School and wait to drop their kids off or to pick them up. That's why they're doing that.
Yeah.
They drop them off right there so they can drop and go.
And I understand that, but we also have how many other parents who follow the correct procedures and do that. I mean, that's just unfortunate, but it's the procedure that they're supposed to go through is to enter the parent pickup line. I understand some people get up late, but we also open the doors at 7 o'clock for kids to drop off. And to me, yeah, I mean, it's not always the easiest way to do it, but it is the
Right.
way we're supposed to do it.
So the alternative could be to go to the Scott Street parking lot, drop their child off there. They can cross at the crosswalk.
It would be a much safer spot.
And there's a crossing guard there.
Yep, and it would be a much safer spot so they're not dropping off in traffic or on a through road.
You could actually end up with two parent pickups by doing it that way.
The parking lot?
One in the parking lot and one in the line that you already got, cutting both lines down.
Yeah, but that parking lot's across the street. It's
That
Smith.
that parking lot's across the street,
Yeah.
but it's got the,
And
it's got the signage and the crosswalk. Thing is to try to get them away from going to Wood Street. That's the.
Yes.
Right. Basically, just want to
Entice
cross
them to
where it's
get away
safest to
from that.
cross. Minimize any interactions they have with traffic.
Buses load on the backside, the entire backside of the school, the south side.
I mean, that whole area.
So there's
during-
not
I mean,
an
everyone
alternative
has been
back
out
there.
That whole area during that time, as far as for pickup and drop off, is just, it's organized, but it's busy. I mean, there's a lot of traffic
Yes.
because, especially you have all that traffic coming from the high school that is on there too, so, but, it's just that time frame.
And we've discussed proposals to different ways that we could possibly reroute the parent pickup line to get more of that traffic off of Smith Street. We're talking about that, but just nothing concrete yet that we've come up with as a good alternative to having them line up on Smith Street and just pull in and pull their U-turns. But we're exploring it.
Well, just one other note to add, in the next couple of weeks, Smith Street is going to be microsurfaced. So we'll be putting in, it'll be temporarily without pavement markings as it cures out for a week or so before we put them down. But I'll definitely get with our contractor if we're in favor of moving away from that Wood Street crossing to make sure that that is not put back as far as pavement markings, and to maybe do our best to signify that Scott Street is the only crossing there as we do that, as we update it.
Just to clarify, the school is in favor of it.
Yes,
And in fact, the school asked you to come and talk about it today.
correct.
So I think it's a dangerous crosswalk, it's a dangerous intersection, and it may not even be the code with MUTCD, I'm not sure. But I like the idea of removing that and hopefully removing danger and having parents drop off in a different location, hopefully.
Is there a need to put something there telling students do not cross here?
So my thought process was, at least for the first week to 2 weeks of school, I will stand out there and make sure kids don't cross there.
Okay.
There will probably be, I'm assuming, I haven't gotten with Mr. Braddock about it, but I'm assuming there'll be some type of notification sent out to parents saying that this is no longer an option. And then I'm gonna stand there to make sure any kids that do attempt to cross there, turn around, go back, cut up Winona, and come down Scott.
Okay.
Is Smith Street a no stopping, no parking type zone? I mean, can you kind of
On
do
Smith
something with the
Street?
parents who have stopped there to drop their kids off? Or,
So the parents stop on Wood Street, and
oh, they stop on Wood?
yes,
Well,
they stop
either
on Wood
way.
Street to let out.
you'd be amazed when the parents drop the kids off at.
Oh, yeah.
They-
Probably,
They come up with a lot of
probably not.
places to try to get around.
Yeah,
the lines.
exactly, oh, yeah, Winona all the way across there, you know, whatever, if they can stay out of the lines, it's like amazing. Yeah, no matter what,
Okay. Any other discussion? Sounds like we have a plan.
Yeah, we'll get with the schools, or if you want to take care, because those are your sign, or
Yep.
the school signs, if they need any help, fine, but if I'm taking them down.
Very good. Thank you, Corporal Roberts, for being here. and
Do we need to
explaining.
vote on anything, or?
uh,
I don't think we do we? It's an action that doesn't require our,
as he says, he's repaving it, so
yeah.
we'll just not put the lines back.
It's more for information for the public, and
And frankly, I don't know how, but I seem to miss that, the signage there at Wood Street. I've driven through there many times, and right now I can't,
Yeah.
I can see the one in Scott Street, but I
Yeah,
can't.
that's part of the issue is the lighting and all that, so that's why it's just, yeah, it's a dangerous crossing.
all right. Thank you,
Thank you.
Corporal. Moving on to Cabs wants to establish a bus route with multiple stops. Do we have someone here that, okay. Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Kristen Rude with CABS, and I'm here this afternoon to present our new deviated route that we're looking at implementing in this fall. Actually, it's scheduled August 5th as our tentative implementation date. For those unfamiliar with what the deviated route is, I did have a packet I presented to you guys today as we go through. It's a hybrid model of public transportation. It operates along a set route and schedule, but has flexibility to deviate off that route within a defined distance to pick up and drop off passengers who make advanced reservations. It combines the reliability of the fixed route that you think of with a bigger city and the on-demand services that we currently offer. It's especially helpful when serving individuals with disabilities, seniors, and those who live just outside the walkable corridors for those fixed stops. Why this matters, this service is being launched in a direct response to community needs. So identified through feedback from riders, employers, NDOT, local organizations, reliable and affordable transportation continues to be a major barrier for employment, healthcare access, and independent living for many who live in Warsaw and the county, but this will specifically service Warsaw. The deviated fixed route model helps us expand service access without the extensive ADA compliance regulations that a fixed route that you think of when you think of Fort Wayne, South Bend require. It also helps us meet FTA requirements for increasing efficiency and improving equitable access to transportation. So in that packet that I provided you, you will see the route that we're proposing. The route is scheduled to start at the library and will loop around every hour going north up 15 towards Walmart. So that map and the list of stops is included. Sorry, I'm having trouble going back and forth here. It'll hit a lot of the high-density residential areas, healthcare providers, social service agencies. We've worked closely with the Michiana Area Council of Governments to develop this route, also NDOT, and our internal development team to identify safe and effective stop locations that hopefully will help meet the city's needs, but also incorporate that safety. As you continue on in your packet, there's some more information about each of those stops. Some of those stops are on public right-of-way. There's a few that are in private property business, and then there's 3 that is on Indiana 15, which of course would be NDOT regulated. So today my goal was really to come before you guys, present kind of what we're thinking, get your thoughts, and if any concerns, any questions you guys have. We want to minimize traffic disruptions while also being able to serve the community and get that access out So the stops, we can kind of go through this packet maybe. The stops, we're looking at the Warsaw Library stop. You can see each of these slides show where we're proposing a sign would be placed. Those things are open to, some advice and recommendation from you all. You guys are the experts in the town and the traffic flow. So with the library stop, we're looking at the grass between the first and second light pole on the south side of Main Street, east of High Street. Should I just go through each of these and then we can kind of discuss? Is that how you want me to do that? Or do we want to discuss each one individually?
Does anyone need her to point out them individually?
No, I don't think individually. I guess one question that comes up the top of my head is, with working with MACOG, have you done any research on potentially what the stop time frame is going to be?
Yes. So the stops are designed to minimize traffic disruptions. So typically speaking, the stops are designed to be 60 seconds or less. So if there's passengers there, we're going to stop, they're going to board, we're moving on as soon as they get seated. The exception to that would be if it is a person in a wheelchair or has a mobility device. Of course, we're going to have to unload that lift, and that does take a little bit longer. Almost all of these stops have either where they can pull to the side of the road and traffic can merge to another lane or like a center turn lane. But none of the stops are designed to completely pull off the road except those at like Walmart and Kroger's, the hospital.
No, I think you hit my points because my concern was just looking through a couple of those, like Center and Argonne. How long? Concern was traffic disruption, but again, if there's pull off room or not necessarily pull off room, but room to negotiate around that helps, and especially for just a 60-second or a very short time frame.
Yes, yeah, and if there's no one at those stops waiting, we won't stop. We'll just buzz right by it.
Sure.
And that one at Center and Argonne, if you know, we're looking at actually on Argonne, up a little bit, kind of where you turn off into Walgreens area.
So wherever there's a pull-off spot would be where they would pull off?
Yes, we're trying to create it to where there's least disruption. So whether it's an actual pull-off into a parking lot or pulling to the side of the road where there is a lane that they could go around the bus.
Well, I could see on Harrison and Sheridan, you're pretty close to the intersection there. Will you be continuing on? I was wondering if you could pull on to Sheridan rather than stay on Harrison at that point. Harrison
Turn on to
continues through.
Sheridan, is that what you're asking? That's the stop there by Titus, correct?
Yes.
We would continue on Harrison down to Kroger's would be our next stop from there. So
Down to where?
down to Kroger's, so we would continue on down that road, up the road the police station's on, and into the back side of Kroger's for the next stop.
So you don't actually go on Sheridan?
Correct.
At that close to an intersection, I would have a problem with.
Okay. Is there a recommendation for that stop? Maybe down, what about like in front of Titus more, a little farther away from that intersection? Or up farther
Or
towards the
further north.
residential area?
Or further north.
Further north, yes.
The concern on Harrison is, again, I'm not sure how the people are going to get
With that one?
to that point, being that there is not sidewalks on Harrison or on Sheridan,
Yeah.
or in that area anyway. And that kind of goes the same way with the stop you have at Husky Trail and County Road 200 North. Mm-hmm. I know there's some preliminary stuff going on with, potentially a roundabout out there, but again, there's not any sidewalks at that location, so.
And the speed limit is 35 too through there, isn't it?
That 200 North stop is one that we did include in this information, but it's one that we are kind of on the fence with whether we'll actually move forward with implementation. We're kind of waiting to hear back on what the construction timeline with all of that is. We want to roll this out as seamless as possible, so we don't want to advertise a stop and then construction obviously could delay that and prevent. So I did include it to get your guys' feedback, but that is one that is a little less hard set, I guess, as we move forward.
Because my concern would be the ones that don't have, that doesn't have any sidewalks. And especially like that Martin's one.
There's sidewalks.
And I know on 15, that's going to be a concern too. I don't know if you guys have seen those stops that we have identified along 15. They are on the side of the road. As you're going north, it's on the right side of the road with the way the route would run. And there's not great crossing on 15.
Yeah, Winona and Buffalo's a big problem there, unless you pull off into the Lighthouse Autism Center or Marsh parking lot or something like that. Those intersections are potentially a problem. Detroit and Arthur.
I do like the route on the places that you're trying to service. I really think you guys put a lot of thought into it, so, you know, if I need to go to, get my medicine or something, or, it's available, I like it. Just some fine tuning.
So to keep the path, because the goal with this route is to really minimize pulling into parking lots and out of parking lots. That adds a lot of time, and we're trying to get as many stops into the route to be able to service as many areas. So that Winona and Buffalo, to keep on that route, I do understand how that intersection could be a problem. Do you foresee if we could move that, back and, away from that intersection? Could that be a feasible solution, or is there still concerns then with that?
That's a crazy intersection.
I think that would be helpful. You're going northbound right there.
What time are you looking at there? Let's see.
We would be going in the direction of the picture. I apologize, I'm very directionally challenged. And the route would run 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. So every hour upon the hour, we would be looping through there.
Do you have any idea if anybody will actually be boarding or departing any of these?
It's really hard to get a full grasp on what our most frequent stops are going to be. So this will be a pilot program we're running for 2 years. We're going to implement and not make any changes for 6 months. 6 months into it, if we find some of these stops, we're getting no foot traffic at all. It could be something we come back, we discuss something a little different. But we don't want to implement with that goal of this isn't going to work. We've done the research, we've gotten feedback from the community. We've looked at our most frequent stops. We're currently doing on-demand services to see where the foot traffic will be. So we do believe that they will be utilized. It's also going to be an education piece with the community because the service is very different from what we offer currently. You just show up and jump on a bus, where right now they're used to you have to call cabs ahead of time and pre-schedule a ride. So, but no, unfortunately, I can't answer, what we see volume to be.
Discussion for anybody?
Again, just to follow up, I would strongly hope that you guys look at those and making sure they're ADA compliant stops, as well as making sure that there are sidewalks present to get to and from each one of those stop locations, or maybe adjust them from there on where those stops are going to be, because again, part of the safety concern is having people congregating in an area that's not set up for that, for pedestrian traffic. So.
Some of the ADA compliances, and I'm newer in my role, so I'm not 100% fluent. I lean a lot on MACOG with that, is with those fixed route, and this deviated fixed route does I guess, allow us to deviate around some of those
Sure.
ADA compliances that would be required for those larger city routes. They're very cumbersome administratively to oversee those ADA compliances with those fixed routes. So this is kind of that nice happy medium to service the community and provide those fixed points without that administrative burden that the larger cities deal with those fixed stops. I will definitely bring this back to to MACOG and our teams, and then I've noted the Sheridan and Harrison Street, the Winona and Buffalo, the 200 North specifically. Was there anything else that I should bring back to them to discuss?
Anything on State Road 15?
The 15.
Did you write down the Zimmel Biomet stop too? I didn't catch that.
I did not, no. What was the concern with that one? The sidewalk?
No sidewalks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd like to have the opportunity to go out and kind of
Yeah.
drive the route a few times and get a feel for it.
Would it be safe to say I'll do some follow-up on these things, and then maybe I can come back at your next meeting and we can kind of reconvene to discuss where we're at with things and what thoughts are?
That would be great.
Okay.
I was, I had a phone call with Justin just before the meeting today. He was not going to be able to make it today, and so we talked through a couple of things. And his take on it was and I think I'm hearing this from the rest of the commission as well, we need more information about the stops. I guess I'm wondering just exactly, I know our role as a traffic commission is to look out after the safety and traffic concerns. But how this moves forward, I had questions. Is this something that has to go to the council? Is this something? And Justin believes that for the most part, it's probably just going to go from here to the Board of Works, unless something came up about one of the stops where maybe they wanted to put a stop where there's a no parking zone. He said then we would have to go through the council. So because of those things, I guess we're still just kind of wanting a little more information.
Mm-hmm.
I had a nice long talk with Kirsten about the stops, and one of the first things I wanted to know was, are any of these stops going to stop traffic?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, for how long? Now, it sounds like for how long is you've come up with 60 seconds.
On average, yes.
But if, whether or not you have identified any as, this is going to stop traffic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There were some other nice things, options that you had explained to me about being able to pick up people with wheelchairs, having bike racks on there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could explain to everyone the deviated part of this fixed route. What's that mean?
Absolutely. So with every hour, we will allow one deviation, and that deviation is up to a quarter mile from the fixed route. So in the map that you have, you'll see kind of like a bubble around that line, and that's our deviation zone. So within that hour, passengers will have to pre-schedule that deviation. That's the only portion of this route that will be pre-scheduled. But if I'm someone, for example, that Walmart stop that lives at Heron and I can't walk down to Walmart, I can call and schedule a deviation. So when the bus is running their route, they will deviate from Walmart, pick up that person at Heron Apartments, and then come back to the route. So that's one time per hour, which does allow further accessibility for individuals who might have mobility concerns to be able to access this route. We can do deviations to get them on the route or to get them back home from the route. And if we're not able to meet that through that, the nice thing is we still have our on-demand services, which will be able to help coordinate a little bit as well. And then a really cool option, or I guess opportunity, we're looking at with the bus is our buses will be equipped with a front-loading bike rack, which will allow 2 bikes to be transported. So that helps with that first mile, last mile connection piece. So if I'm someone who lives outside of that zone, I can ride my bike to one of those stops, hook it on the front of the bus, and still get transportation through the route.
So I guess I'm asking, does this commission need to, and Jeremy, you've been involved with this type of stuff in the past, so maybe you got a better answer than any of the rest of us up here. Do we have to recommend this to the Board of Works? Or what is our final role? We've got a nice presentation, we're kind of looking at things. How do we handle this?
I think it probably makes sense that whether it goes to the council or work that goes to city approval, and they're going to be performing traffic operations on the road that are not legal to do. Stopping on a road is not allowed without regulations, approved bus stops, and so forth. So I think the traffic environment needs to approve whatever plan we're presenting so that it can be enforced by the traffic officers. I think what needs to happen is we need to sit down with you guys, us, the city team, with myself, the mayor, Justin, and Dustin, and go over the plan that's being presented or that you'd like to execute, so that we can understand improvements need to be made, if improvements need to be made, or changes need to be made, if changes need to be made. Or it can be presented as a cohesive plan to the city for approval, plus making those bus stops and approved within the regulations to be have vehicle stopping.
I would agree. I mean, I think the idea is fantastic. We just need to do a little more research, and some of the improvements and updates I mean, the city we may end up having to update some things on our own just to make sure that everything is safe for pedestrians. So I would agree with that.
Perfect. I would love to get your information and if possible, I could part also. And one thing to note, I did not explain, is these stops at this point in time, we're not looking at any kind of structures, any bus, like benches, anything like that. We do have a sign I included in your packet that we are looking at for proposal. We would like to make that purchase relatively soon. That may be something you guys can give recommendation if you have any concerns with that sign, because that's what we would put up or work with the city to put up to indicate where those stops are at.
It's a pretty aggressive arrangement here that you have. There's a lot of stops here. Are all of these stops you feel needed?
We do feel like all of them will be serviced. All of them will be utilized based on our studies that we did developing the route and where people are going and what they're accessing. Again, it's going to be kind of the education piece with the community and getting them out and actually used to using the route, but we do feel like they will be serviced.
Sounds like a good idea. This is Jeremy Skinner. And a meeting with Jeremy and Justin, and who else did you suggest, Jeremy?
Justin and maybe the mayor, if he wants to come in on meeting. We're obviously very supportive of this. It's been talked about in many groups. But the same breath, I think it's not done right. And you create more problems than solutions.
Absolutely.
So we want to see it happen. We're excited about the program. We want to make sure it's done right. That way it works out.
No, CABS is of the same sentiment, so I appreciate that. It's kind of uncharted territory for us. There's not a real handbook for implementation, so I would love the opportunity to sit down with you guys and discuss further. So,
I apologize, I didn't get your name. Is Kristen?
Kristen Rude,
Can you spell your last name, please?
Rude.
Okay, thank you. All right, very good. Do you have any more for us?
I guess the only question was about that sign, if you guys had a chance to look at it. Was there any concerns from the city standpoint with traffic control for that? And that could be something we discussed also.
I think the next step for us would be to have a meeting, go over what you're presenting, so we can review it, make any comments, recommend any changes, and then present that back.
All of
to
it.
the traffic committee,
Okay.
make a recommend- Send that on to the council and approve that. So these bus stops, stop locations, more or less can be somewhat within the code, so that the police department and their ability to manage that traffic knows where they're at, what they're doing there, so we can make sure that we're avoiding any
Any other questions for Kristen?
What's the capacity on the bus?
Yeah. We'll be operating the route with a 12-passenger, 2-wheelchair bus. So it's one of our medium-sized buses.
Will there be multiple buses on the route at one time? or
As
just
of
one?
now, we're operating with one bus. We'll have a backup bus in fleet, of course, in case there's any mechanical issues, but
Sure.
And you plan to make the loop in an hour?
correct.
As soon as you deviate, that's gonna change your times.
Yes, there is some leeway built into that hour to allow for those deviations. And we have been out,
Yeah, well, especially with your 88. You
Yes,
have
yes.
your-
yeah, we have been out with MACOG. We've ran the route in our bus. It's doable. But yeah, there's some leeway built into that hour loop for those deviations.
Right, and we seriously have to look at, this is just me looking at it as how it is that once you establish that point, you have to take your furthest point that somebody can walk, and do they have the means to get to that stop? Without, because what do we run into is that if somebody says they're walking to your bus stop and an accident happens, then guess what? Does the city automatically become responsible for what happened? You know, and does that make sense? So like just on 200 and Husky Trail, that should probably be moved down to either, what's the new apartments that just went up?
Sprucedale?
Right, the new ones on Husky Trail.
Oh.
I mean,
The old Canterbury.
yeah, Canterbury, because Canterbury's not Canterbury anymore. So, but that's just stuff that you gotta really like look at, your furthest point that somebody can walk to catch that bus. Especially in some of those areas. Because it gets confusing, you know, as far as what it is, but.
No, I appreciate that.
And is there a cost for riders?
Yeah.
Oh, it's in here?
Yeah.
Yes. The boarding per stop would be a $1 fare, and deviations are 50 cents. We are looking at a monthly pass system too, so someone buys a monthly pass and they can ride unlimited times within that month time frame. But that will be the boarding cost.
Very good. Glad that you're putting something, getting something out there, because I'm sure there's a need for it.
Huge need, yes. No, I appreciate your guys' input and value your time. Thank you for letting me come before you today.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, committee planning updates. Anything we need to discuss there? Terry, anything with you? Okay, good. All right. Other matters that might come before the board? All right. Next meeting, July 2nd. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jack.
Seconded.
Thank you, Connie. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Appreciate it.
It's interesting. I want to go out and kind of drive it a few times to see it feel. Yeah, feel for it.
Is everybody going to keep their packet?
I plan on it.